वागर्ताविव सम्पृक्तौ वागर्तप्रतिपत्तये जगदपितरौ वन्दे पार्वती परमेश्वरौ मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम् सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् हरिः ओम्। So last time we met nearly 3 weeks, I think. It's quite some time. In Bharati Vidya Bhavan, where we saw the first 19 shlokas, I think, in chapter 6. Chapter 6 is all about mind. Life is a mind game for all of us. Anything that we do in life, anything that anybody does, it starts from, of course, not from the child. Actually, it is very interesting to understand what happens in the Janma. When the child is born, the child does not even take possession of the body for about a year. Actually, the child, that soul is not associated even with the body. That's why it doesn't even know to see. It moves its hand in a very... For it, the body and the soul are different. That is the pristine purity of existence with which the child came. After 3 to 6 months, the eyes start, so it recognizes something called eye. Then after a year, it starts, maybe after 6 months, it starts a little bit stretching its muscle. That's how it is. So it takes 2 years for the child to take possession of the physical body. And it takes a few more years for the child to take possession of the mental body or the mind. Once the child takes possession of the mind, then this statement is true. So from the age of 4 or 5 until we die, life is a mind game. It's truly a mind game. Anything that we do, anything that happens in our life, in the world of Vyavahara, of course, has something to do with mind. That is why I think addressing mind is a very, very important issue. Otherwise, it is not going to work out. So this chapter is about that. Dhyana Yoga is about, because this is a gadget. Mind is a very powerful gadget. In today's terms, if I have to use a word, it's a gadget. Just like you have, there is a nice gadget I am using and I am trying to live cast also. There is a brain box, there is a camera, all these are gadgets. Mind is a very powerful gadget given to us. This is a gadget with a lot of bells and whistles. It has 5 karmendriyas, it has 5 jnanendriyas, it has manas, buddhi, ahankara, all these are part of this gadget. These are all dials and all that. Question is, what do we do with that? So, and it's a very powerful gadget. If you don't know how to use this gadget, it can destroy us. So that is why in chapter 6 of Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna has focused on mind. Unless we can we have already taken possession of this gadget called mind, as I told you. The child has taken possession of the mind. The question is whether the mind will call the shot or you will call the shot. That seems to be the important question that we need to answer. If you let mind take a call, there are many words to describe it. You are very moody, you are very emotional, you can get very upset, you can get upset at the slightest thing that happens. Somebody can somebody can say dislike to you in the Facebook and you can lose your peace of mind. It's very simple. Losing peace of mind is a remote control with the rest of the world. That's what happens when you leave it to the mind. So that is not the way. That's a very, very primitive way of living. that is a life which is very hazardous. That is a life which can be very challenging, which can be unpredictable, which can be very painful also. Because we let everything to the mind, and the extreme case of that is called being a lunatic. That's a word lunatic used in English, where the mind has taken the complete charge of everything. That's a lunatic. Brain refuses to work because the buddhi gives the, nitya anitya vastu. It gives that power of vichara. That's also taken off. Your logic is taken off. Your chitta is taken off. The memory and all those are taken off. So that is the extreme case of mind playing the extreme role, which is called lunatic. So I'm not talking, that's a rare case. But a vast majority of us are one step before lunatic, where we let the mind call the shot. That's not the way. If we want to continue living like that, that's one way of living. But there is something more than that about which Krishna wanted to talk. So that is what this chapter is all about, called Dhyana Yoga. Now, so this gadget is a very powerful gadget as long as we don't know. That is true of any gadget. You can have a gadget, and if you do not know how to actually use it, it can be very unproductive. It can destroy us, the Yajamana. It can become useless. It can become meaningless. All that can happen. So the mind is like that. So therefore, how do we actually handle the mind? What is this whole thing called mind, and how do we do that? So that is where this chapter is about. And as some of you who are attending very well recollect, this assumes a lot of importance after a good understanding of what is called Karma Yoga. Because in Karma Yoga, Chitta Shuddhi will happen. We know how to handle life, we know how to handle work. So work related things are fairly under reasonable control. Therefore the next thing we have to lay our hands on are the mind. So that's where the Dhyana Yoga comes. So in this chapter, the first 10 shlokas is where Sri Krishna establishes why should we address the mind. So he has given several arguments. I just want to tell one shloka which is the most important shloka in those first 10, and that is 6th shloka. Uddaret atmana atmanam na atmanam avasadayet atmaiva bandhuhu atmanam atmaiva ripuratmanaha. That's the most important message that Sri Krishna gives in this. So in the first 10 shlokas, he very clearly established, use your own mind and lift yourself in this journey. So, which means the mind is very gross, you have to make it subtle. You have to increase its power of resolution. What is subtle? Subtle means it increases the power of resolution. Gross means it can look at only gross things. Whereas if you increase the power of resolution, it becomes very subtle. So he says, use your own mind, use that as the apparatus, and using that, make it very subtle, and by making it subtle, you win over your own mind. Atmaiva bandhuhu atmanam, atmaiva ripuhu atmanaha. Choice is yours. You can use the mind which can help you, or you can use the mind which will destroy you. So he established all that in the first 10 shlokas. Then the next 10 shlokas, where he really gave the 9 shlokas, so to speak, he really gave the nitty-gritty of this dhyana. How do you sit? What kind of seating? Na ati chritam ati nicham. Neither too high, not too below. So many things he said, if you remember. Again, there is one shloka which beautifully summarizes all these, which is the 17th shloka. It says, Yuktahara viharasya, yukta cheshtasya karmasu. That is the spirit of life. At the end of the day, he says, you should be your ahara vihara and yukta avabodha sopna avabodhasya. That's what he says. Yukta sopna avabodhasya yogi bhavati dukkhaha. It's a beautiful shloka. Moderation is very important in life. So it is not swinging too much on both extremes. In ahara, in vihara, in karmasu and cheshtasu, all that you do in life, amount of sleep you have, it says yukta swapna avabodhasya. So how much you sleep, how much you wake up, how much you eat, ahara, vihara, all that. So this shloka summarizes. So in a way, in the next 10 shlokas or 9 shlokas, Sri Krishna gave us really some nitty-gritty details. How do you start this process? This process, slowly we have to start. You know, the spirit of those 9 shlokas, if you see, the spirit is that the mind will try to escape. Give the slightest opportunity, it will escape. So can you do something, can you do a set of things which will not give an excuse for the mind to escape? That is the spirit of this whole discussion. You know, don't eat too much, don't starve, don't sleep too much, don't be, awake too long. All that is saying, otherwise mind will find some way to say, I'm not cooperating with you. So he is only pointing to us that the process is slow. It needs to be very carefully. That's why he talked about ekagro eta chittatma. Sit in a very secluded place. Close your eyes. Nasikagre. All the details are there. I mean, these are all starters to say the mind requires to be tamed. And in order to tame the mind, some small little things are to be diligently followed. If you don't follow, mind will escape. So that is what he said. In the next 10 shlokas, he is going to tell us if we started this process and really started moving forward in this dhyana, where we are able to little bit control the mind is not slipping away, slowly it is falling in line, what will happen? That is what he is going to say in the next 10 shlokas. So in Dhyana Yoga, as I told you, first 9 shlokas are about meditation as a means for mind control. Then it says that some details on meditation, which I was talking about, some methods and procedures for meditation, all those are there. Now we will see a few shlokas. Where will it lead us eventually? Start this process slowly, let's keep moving. Where will it take us? That, that is the last thing that he is going to say. Is that a way I can minimize this? Here it is, minimize. Okay. Now it is all right. Okay. In fact, we stopped in the 19th shloka, if you remember last time. There is a nice upama. He said, Yada Deepo Nivasasto Nengate Sopama Smrita, Sa Upama Smrita. Just like a lamp requires a little bit of a shade. The hurricane lamp, there is a glass shelter, so that the wind will not flicker it. So the mind also requires a little bit of protection, so that it will not waver. And those protection are those 10 slokas. Sit in a secluded place, close your eyes, don't eat too much, don't starve too much. So those are the small little things. So that's why he says that Yata Deepo Nivasasto Na Ingate, it doesn't flicker. So Upama Smrita Yogino Yata Chittasya Yunjato Yogamatmanaha. That is what we saw in the last class. Then we will continue with the shlokas 20 onwards. So the next 10 shlokas roughly is where Sri Krishna is telling what will happen if you travel in this journey. Where will it lead us in terms of this dhyana that in a small way we start. Everything in life is a small baby step. Please understand. Everything in life is a small baby step. The grandest banyan tree started from a seed with 1 bud and 2 leaves. That's how it started, which is 700 years old. I see 1 or 2 in and around Bangalore and Calcutta botanical gardens and so on. Even that started only with 2 leaves. Where are we able to build it slowly, nourish it, take it one step at a time, one step at a time? So this is also like that. So dhyana is initially difficult, The mind will find 1,000 reasons why it will run away. Question is, if you go slowly, which anyway he is saying, Shanai, Shanai, Uparamet, he says. Anyway, question is, where will it lead us? Because if we know that, there is enough motivation for us to, otherwise, we always ask, what is in it for me? Krishna says, don't ask what is in it for me. Even then this hangover is there for us. So in a small way, where will it lead us? That is what he is taking us. So look at the next shloka. It says, Yetro paramate chittam niruddham yoga sevaya yatra chaivatmanatmanam pashyannatmani tushyati sukam atyantikam yattat buddhigrahyamatīndriyam veti yatra na chaivayam stitaschalati tatvatah. So in the 20th shloka, there is a very interesting usage. You look at the shloka. Yatra uparamate chittam niruddham yoga sevaya. See, ramate, it means, going out. Generally, indriyani bahihi ramate. The indriyani is all these panchendriyas by design are focused outside. God has made a fault in design. If only there is a way you can turn it in. Some camera can be turned like this. Right? In the same way, if the pancha indriyas can be turned in, our job is simple. Dhyana will become very easy. Unfortunately, this is an inflexible design. They are all focused outside. Everything is focused outside. That is called ramate. Uparamate is inside. That which revels in inside, not outside. That is called uparamate. So the upasarga turns it inside. It's called uparamate chittam niruddham yoga sevaya. In fact, Patanjali's second sutra in Patanjali's Yoga Shastra, the second sutra is Yoga Chitta Nirodha, Chitta Vritti Nirodha. So that's the word you see here. The second sutra in Patanjali's Yoga Sutra is Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha. That's what he is saying, Niruddham Chittam. Master, getting the mastery over the Chitta. In fact, these words, Atmana, you will see it in the next, it is the ultimate. There are three vibhaktis there. Look at the next sentence. There are three vibhaktis for Atman Shabdam there. You just see, it says, Yatra cha eva Atmana. Atmana is Tritiya vibhakti. Atmana, Atmanam, which is Dvitiya vibhakti. That is the second case. Atmana is third case. Atmanam is second case. Atmani is seventh case. Seventh case is in. The seventh case is in. So what he is saying here, Yatra cha eva Atmana, using Atma, Atmanam. Atmanam is that person. It is pointing to the person. It's object. Second case is always object. Na? Second person reaching that Pashyan Atmanam. You are able to see that Atma. So use Atma and you see Atma in Atma. So there are three here. This is the ultimate possibility for confusion you can have. I was about to bring that for Chittam also. See the words in all these Vedanta texts. We have to be very careful. Atma. Atma can mean mind. It can sometimes mean body. It can sometimes mean the soul. It can sometimes mean the Nirvikalpa, the Nirguna, Jivatma. All that. So here Chittam, Yatra Uparamate Chittam is one is memory, other is the mind. Here, it's all about mind. This chapter is all about mind. So it says mastery of the Chittam Niruddham. By how? Yoga Sevaya. Through this process of yoga, can you develop mastery of your mind? That's what Patanjali also said. Chitta Vritti Nirodha. Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha is the second sutra in Patanjali's Yoga Sutra. Same thing. So here Chittam means mind. Now let us come to the second line. It says Atmana. So by the mind. There, what is a tool for us? It is the mind. Uddaret Atmana Atmanam. There also you see Atmana is third case. Atmanam is the second case. You lift yourself by yourself. If you simply translate it, that's not what it is. So the tool that you use, a third vibhakti is by something. So it's a tool. That Atmana means mind. Atmanam Pashyan. Atmanam Pashyan is this Jivatma. You have to see that soul inside you, that ultimate Sakshi which is inside you. That is the second Atmanam. Atmani, in you, in this whole body, mind, intellect complex, you should be able to see that this is deeper than all these, it is ultimately inside. So there are three cases there. So that is what he is saying here, that yatra cha eva atmana atmanam pashyan atmani. You see yourself, your true nature, that's the meaning. Use your mind, develop mind control. Through the mind control, uparamate chittam yatra uparamate chittam, so you revel in yourself and see that ultimate truth of life, ultimate truth of the rahasya, jivana rahasya, you will see. That is what in this shloka, there are three Atman here, so we have to understand the meaning very, very contextually. Then he says, what will happen? Atyantikam sukham. You get that bliss which is ultimate. Atyantikam sukham yat, you will attain that. And how will you attain that? There are two properties he is saying. Buddhigrahyam, atindriyam. Very, very important. It is first atindriyam. The ultimate truth cannot be perceived by the indriyas. It is atindriyam, beyond the indriyas. That is why in the current version of this gadget called mind, in the current normal version, which has these five pancha karmendriyas and pancha jnanendriyas, they are of no use for seeing that. The ultimate bliss is not obtained through the indriyas. The bliss or the happiness that we obtain through the indriyas are temporary. That's not ultimate. That is what he is saying. That's why he is saying atindriyam. It is beyond the reach of indriyas. In other words, what you get out of indriyas ought to be limited. And what you get out of limited ought to be limited. Whereas atyantikam sukham cannot be limited. It should be unlimited. How can you get unlimited out of limited? When today's malls can give you those kinds of offers, don't believe in those offers. It is not possible. It violates the fundamental principle. A limited entity cannot be capable of giving anything unlimited. Only an unlimited entity can give anything which is unlimited. It's a simple logic. We don't need too much of explanation here. If you want anything unlimited, it can be given only by something which is unlimited. How can a limited thing can give you unlimited? Not possible. In fact, today's origin of universe is stuck in science only on this principle. They are not able to explain how this unlimited energy is coming. They are saying Big Bang and all that because they are limited. You have to start with this assumption of Anadi, Ananta. In 8th chapter we will see all that so nicely. This whole description of this is there. Today science is stuck because they are not able to do this mass balance or energy balance, because this universe which has come cannot come out of nothing. How can it come out of nothing? Unlimited cannot come out of nothingness. Nothingness is an expression of ultimate limitation. That's where they are stuck. So that is why it has to be atyantikam sukham has to be always atindriyam. Indriya dwara whatever sukha we get is very limited. Indriya itself it goes, because if that is the ultimate bliss, then the very logic will defeat it. That means Indriyas are not permanent. For some people, hearing stops at the age of 60. So that means that much of bliss is now rationed out. How do you explain it? For some people, cataract, glaucoma, eyesight is gone at the age of 65, 70. Are you telling me then the bliss is cut by 1/5? That is why through Indriyas what we get cannot be unlimited. Whereas today there is so much of emphasis on Indriyani Sukha, Sukha through Indriyas. People seem to be bothered so much about it. They seem to be very emphasized about it. Whereas here very clearly Krishna says that Buddhigrahyam and Buddhigrahyam. The meaning of Buddhigrahyam is, please understand, experience that you have got. Experience is not stored in anything other than consciousness. Please understand, this is a very important principle. You have got an experience. that experience is not stored in anything material. If it is stored anything in material, then, if you lose your, eyes, if you lose your hands, if you lose your legs, or, something happens, that knowledge has to go. It never happens for us. The person who is normally looking has a certain experience. Without eyesight, he or she may continue the experience. Experience cannot be taken away, please understand. That's why in legal, I do not know whether if you follow some of these court and legal proceedings and so on, there is one normal trick they do. The trick is, the defense lawyer or the opponent lawyer, while he or she is making an argument, he will actually make a statement. The moment he or she makes the statement, some statement he will make, or he or she will make, then the opposition lawyer will immediately say, objection, Your Honor. And the judge will say, objection sustained. The question is then, this man actually knows. Moment I say it, the other person will object to it, no. So the judge will also sustain. Why is he saying? You know why he is saying? When an objection is sustained, what it means is, from the court proceedings it is removed. That statement is removed from the court records. You cannot remove it from the judges. Has heard it already. He has heard it. You can erase it. Erasing cannot be erased from my... So experience is in consciousness. It is not in indriyas. It is not in memory. What you commit in memory is volatile. Experience is not committed to the memory. Jnana is committed to the memory. Vijnana is... That's why Prajnanam Brahma. It's one Mahavakya like that. So this Buddhi Grahyam means this Anubhava. It is Anubhuti. Anubhuti cannot be taken out. Anubhuti is with you. That is called Vasana. In other words, in Vedanta it uses the word Vasana. So even if this body, mortal body drops, you consign it to flames, this Anubhuti can never be destroyed. The Karana Sharira will take all of them and move from one Janma to another Janma. It will happen. So Buddhi Grahyam is that which is staying with you. This experience will be ever with you. It can never be taken out. It cannot be erased. That is the point. So that's what he says. That is why he says Sthitas Chalati Tattvataha. That's why the second sentence says this experience that you got is Chanchala now. You can actually, essentially, if somebody has seen the ultimate truth, if that person's memory is destroyed, he or she gets into coma, comes back, this will never go. I mean, we don't even understand this idea because it is part of his prajnana. It is not part of these mortal elements of our body, because these brain cells, all these modern science which analyzes a human anatomy are all destroyable nature. Whereas this Anubhava is not stored there. It is stored in that prana. Right? That's why Sthitas Chalati. It doesn't waver. That once you got the experience, you got it. That's what it is. Once you know how to do cycling, it can never be taken out of you. Please understand, it's impossible. Huh? I didn't get. Yes. What is being stored is Chitta. Exactly, perfectly. Chitta is the equivalent of the memory that we have in the computer terminology. So, and the file, actually, if the Chitta is working properly, that is called file allocation table. I have mentioned it a few times. If the file allocation table gets corrupted, when you put something, some junk will come. Same thing happens when Chitta gets corrupted. You become, somebody takes you to Nimhans, or they put you to sleep, or something happens. Basically, it's gone. So you are right. All the experiences and things are all stored. The knowledge is stored. The vritti is developed in the Chitta. So that's why he says, Yatra Veti, he gets to know. Nacha eva ayam chalati sthitaha tattvataha. So it is, once you get this experience, it stays, it doesn't flicker, it doesn't waver, and this sukham is atyantikam sukham. Atyantikam sukham cannot be through indriyas, it is atindriya. So it's what I was saying, Ramate is generally referred for going out. Uparamate is turning in. So that's why he said yatra uparamate is the word he uses. The experience is turning inside. I talked about all this. It's a nice example of a Karaga dancer. You know, this Vidyaranya, the Acharya of Sringeri, the Rajarishi. He has written Panchadashi, in which there is a nice shloka. I am not able to recollect the shloka offhand. What he says is that the Karaga dancer, he or she might actually, you know, there is this this round part on the, so that she might be dancing on the tip of a big plate. She or he may be dancing to the tunes of the music, but whatever happens, the concentration is always on the balance of the Karaga. So it's like a Karaga dancer where whatever they may play to the outside world, they always know that they exist not to drop the Karaga. We should lead a life like that. We can get engaged in outside world in all other things, but there is a there is a reason d'être. If I have to use a French word like that, there is a reason why we exist. That reason should not be forgotten. One hand must be held on that all the time. That somebody can do it. Stitaschalati tattvataha. It doesn't mean you will not do vyavahara in the world. Karaga dancer will, depending upon the rhythm of the music, that Karaga dancer will dance. But he or she all the time knows that my existence and my credibility, my very existence depends on the Karaga falls, people will go. The show is over. People will go. So our show is over if we leave this Sakshi. Please understand. You have to hold on to the Sakshi and do whatever you want. Otherwise the show is not worth. The show is over. We have to understand that part of the story. Then he says a few more nice things. Yam labdva chaparam labham manyate nadhikam tataha yasmin stito na dukkena gurunapi vichalyate tam vidyat dukkha sanyoga viyogam yoga samhitam nischayena yoktavyaha yogo nirvinna chetasa. Two very interesting usages in these shlokas. In the first shloka, Yam Labdva, having reached that, having attained that. What is that? Getting that connection to that soul, understanding this is where I have to hold my hand, only then the show is meaningful. So Yam Labdva cha aparam labham manyate adhikam. This is the ultimate labha. See, all that we do in the world are not the ultimate. Because we think that's so, I started with a 2,000 rupee salary. That's a 2,100 rupees or my first salary in 1997 or something. I started with that kind of a salary. Because that's what they pay for professors. They don't pay much in this country anyway. Nowadays things are slightly better. But anyway, so I bought a scooter. I thought that's the end of my life. That's what, all these other labhas are of that category. Now today people have a very long list. They thought buying a BDA site is a 60/40 site is the ultimate. Then they think, no. I have to get a 50/80 site somewhere. Then they say, no, I have to get a farmhouse. 10 kilometers outside Kanakpura, there is one farmhouse, 1 acre. Then they say, no, I have to get a holiday resort. So many of our worldly things are like that. We think if you buy a TV, that's the end of story. No, now there is a TV of this size is available now, which is like a home theater. So all these worldly vyavaharas, the labha will never stop. It's an endless journey. It all depends on how much worldly you are. How much you are connected to worldly things, that will determine. But this rule will never disappear. One house, then people say two house, then they say this car, then they say, no, I have to buy a SUV. Somebody says, no, buy a 10-seater or something. If you go to America, there are 2 cars which are tagged behind this also. So that kind of cars are yet to come here. So you can buy that. There's a boat also, you can hook it to the back of your car and drive. That's what I see for 3 months in US. There's a boat which they tag onto the car and go to the lake. They'll start now, June, July, August, that's what they do. So there's no end to all this. He says, this is not like that. If you ask, is there a full stop? Yes, there is a full stop. There is a full stop to our desires, provided you get this. That's what he says, Yam Labdva, having obtained this, right? Na adhikam manyate labham. Aparam labham adhikam na manyate. Tataha, from that, anything beyond that, nobody actually wants. So that is actually called, the ultimate of this thing. And yasmin sthito, in that state, he says, dukkena na vichalyate gurunapi. The word gurunapi is very important. Even the heaviest of the sorrow that you can face in your life will not shake you even the slightest bit. So that's what it says, that even the slightest of the greatest of the sorrows that you can go through in life will not shake you even the slightest. The gurunapi is what he says. Even the heaviest of the sorrow will not affect you. That is what he says if you get to know this realization, which is inside, which is not outside. So that's the first thing he says. He is pointing everything that you set in the outside world. It is about job also, it is true. It is about the material possessions that you can have. It is about the so-called happiness that you started measuring for yourself. All of them are a list which is, endless. That's why in Bhajagovindam, he said, Mooda jahihi dhanagama trishna. Kurusad buddhim manasi vitrishna. The vi upasarga is without. Vi means without. Trishna is a very important word. In Sanskrita, there are words called like pipasa, bubuksha. Pipasa is patum ichati. I want to drink. So I am very thirsty. It's called pipasa. How much can I drink? 1 cup, maybe 2 cups. If I am very thirsty, maybe 1 liter of water. Bubuksha, I want to eat. How much can you eat? If you are so hungry, maybe a little bit more, 2 plates. Trishna is not like that. Trishna is a desire which is an unquenchable desire. It's a desire which is unquenchable. That's why it is called Trishna. So, that is how our worldly activities are. It's an endless journey. How do you put a full stop? He says the only way you can put a full stop is to locate this truth inside. Don't look at outside. That's why yam labdva cha aparam labam manyate na adhikam tataha. So that's what he said. So once you are in that state, these worldly things will not affect you much. And he qualified it so well in the next sloka. He uses a very interesting usage. You just see there. He says dukkha sanyoga viyoga. It's a very strange usage. Sanyoga means samyak yujyate iti sanyoga. Well connected. Put a fevicol and then stick it. That is samyoga. Samyak yujyate iti. The word yoga comes from the dhatu yunj. Yuj is to connect. Sanyoga means samyak yujyate. Well connected. Well connected with what? Dukkha. Dukkha sanyoga. Our normal life is one in which dukkha is actually a free offer for you. Take one, give one, take one, buy one, take one free. Really, that is true of dukkha. You take one X quantity of sukha, 2X quantity of dukkha is free offer for you. Without knowing it, you are consuming sukha actually. Nobody can escape from this free offer. These malls all understood it much later. So what he said, Matra sparsasta kaunteya sitoshna sukha dukkataha agamo paino nityaha tam stitiksha svavarta. From that onwards he started. Dukkha is a free offer which will come along with sukha. Don't ask only for sukha. The biggest problem in management, in education, everywhere, in company working today is everybody is told only good things will happen. That's wrong. Good things come with a free offer of bad things. That's why Krishna says, dukkha sanyoga. Many things that we do in life, it is stuck with dukkha. Now he uses an anti-word called viyoga. He says, now I will give an antidote to it and dry the fevicol now. So that's what he is saying. So it's a very interesting usage. He says, dukkha sanyoga viyoga. It looks like a complicated usage, but it is conveying something very important. The first point it conveys is, dukkha is in sanyoga. First we have to understand. Dukkha is it's a strong bond with which, things are there. So now you need an antidote. And dry the fevicol, it will fall off. That is the viyoga. So that's how this word comes. So he says, having known that, tam vidyat, Having known that, what will happen? The fevicol will dry and the dukkha will go. That's why na dukkena gurunapi vichalyate. The previous shloka is connected to this shloka. So he says, this yoga, what will you do for you? What will you get out of this yoga? It will dry the fevicol and then take the dukkha which is so much part of your life. Take means it exists, you will not see it anymore. You will develop a certain kind of udasina bhava. Developing udasina bhava is a state of mind. It is not to do anything with reality. See, when Ramana Maharishi went through the surgery, people asked, Bhagavan, what? You are not suffering. He said, I have pain, I don't have suffering. Pain is a bodily activity, suffering is a state of mind. Pain can never be removed because that is a law of science. If you cut this skin, there must be pain. That is a law of science. You take a blade and cut, it should pain. Blood must flow, after some time it should clot. And until that wound heals, it must pain. So Ramana Maharishi said, of course it pains, but I don't have suffering. Suffering is a state of mind. It is a position you take on that. Moment you see a cut, you can actually say, I am the most unlucky person in the world. All bad things happen only to me. This mind is capable of doing all that. It can inflict so much damage on you and put you in the thickest of the suffering. If you do yogic practice and dhyana, he says, that will not happen. So I am not saying, the kind of things that are happening outside will stop. There is no magic wand. That is a reality. It will not map onto your mind. It's all mapping onto the mind. This chapter is about how do you manage this minding on this mapping that happens on your mind. So that is what he says. Tam vidyat dukkha sanyoga viyogam yoga samchitam nischayena yoktavyaha yogo nirvinna chetesa. Therefore, please practice yoga. This is the greatest takeaway for you, because life is dukkha sanyoga. We have to create a viyoga for it now. He uses the word yoga and intelligently plays three versions of it. He has used the word yoga in the same line. You see, there is a word yoga, there is a word viyoga, there is a word sanyoga. You can learn a lot of Sanskrit also in Bhagavad Gita. Let's say Gita Sopana, they teach in Samskrita Bharati, they teach Gita Sopana. You can learn a lot of Sanskrit through Gita. So you have yoga, viyoga, sanyoga. All the three are there in this particular. Life is a dukkha sanyoga. With yoga you can create a viyoga of it. So he says, that is why nischayena yoktavyaha. Please practice this. Such a great benefit we will get out of it is what he is saying. And if you read Avatara Purusha's stories, they are the shining examples. Think of this situation. Night, after everything is over, and Rama is going to be anointed as the next king of this Ikshvaku Kula. Night he is called and he is asked to go to the forest for 14 years. What more you need? Small thing you take away, you are upset. One promotion you delay, people get upset. You are getting promotion next year. It is delayed. Maybe you are eligible. I am not saying you are not eligible. You are very much eligible for promotion. They did not give you promotion and you lose your sleep. They should lose their sleep for doing something wrong. I lose my sleep for small thing. Kingdom has been denied. See how he responded. Look at Ayodhya Kanda. Go and read it. That's a shining example. When Bharata came, end of Ayodhya Kanda, you see those conversations, 98th Sarga to 119th Sarga. What character this Rama brought out? Because Bharata said, take the kingdom. So many things he tried. Rama stood by it. That is the heights of character. You don't get, that easily tempted. Temptation means very weak character. It's the greatest temptation you can ask for. Even that he was able to stand. You could take any kind of thing that comes through it. He comes back, he doesn't, he gets no, first he gets no, his father is no more. When Bharata comes and meets him, he does tarpana and all that. It's all very emotional pieces. They have faced all that. Krishna's own life. Look at from the time he is born, it's a very complicated affair. The difference between Krishna and Rama is Rama cried. Krishna made everybody cry. That's why he's called Yogeshwara. Krishna is Yogeshwara. He is the ultimate of Yogamayi. He is after all the Anuja of Yogamayi anyway. Seventh child also slipped away, and he is the eighth child. From the time he is born, you read the story of Krishna Avatar. The best way to read Krishna Avatar is you are going to Bharati Vidyaban week after week, buy the 7-part volume called Krishna Avatar by K.M. Munshi. Ultimate book. Wonderful book to read. You will get a very different understanding about this character called Krishna. 8th book he wrote and he passed away. It's an appendix in that 7th book. Wonderful book. Pinnacle of the book is the 3rd book. Book 3 called The Five Brothers. Beautiful 6-7 volumes. K.M. Munshi, the founder of Bharati Vidyaban, has written that. What kind of things Krishna has gone through. So these Avatara Purushas are meant to remind us of these. So small things we jump up and down. Small little things we are not able to take. Small, genuinely somebody took more than mine, my share. Look at the entire property disputes are like that. Genuinely, somebody took more than mine, and we are so stuck in this whole thing. We get upset. We expend all our energy, get very emotional, lose our peace of mind. For what? This mortal body is going to destroy one day. Because that kind of a thing is not there. They have gone through a lot of them. They are all case in point for us to understand. Quite a few practical advices. Sankalpa prabhavan kaman tyaktva sarvan aseshatah manasaivendriya gramam viniyamya samantatah shanai shanai uparamet buddhya dhriti grihitaya atma samstam manakritva nakinchidapi chintayet. So he gives a few ideas. Shanaihi shanaihi uparamet. It's a very slow process, one step at a time. Not only yoga, not only dhyana. Spiritual journey is just one small baby step at a time. Don't bring your traditional office methods. People ask me, sir, 1 year I am attending Bhagavad Gita class, nothing is happening. I say that the day you stop asking this, there is a hope that you will have progress. The day you stop measuring your progress, you have actually progressed spiritually. That's what is very important. The point is, the greatest dam in the world, biggest and the greatest dam in the world can be burst into nothing with a small hairline crack. That's all it is required. That hairline crack one day will build and build and build till burst the dam. However mighty this dam is, spiritual journey is like that. Please stop asking, I have not understood, it has not come into my mind, I have not. Don't do all that. Just, that's what Krishna is saying. Shanaihi shanaihi uparamed. You will slowly, one step, slowly it will go. Don't worry. All that you have to do is dhriti grihitaya buddhya. You focus your mind, be a little steadfast, that's all. Don't beyond that use our traditional ways of evaluation into this, you will go nowhere. It's my very practical advice. Go through it. Keep listening it. You don't even have to understand any bit of it. It all works inside because it is atindriya. Understanding is indriya, sambandha vishaya. Just now we said it is atindriya. So don't worry too much about I don't understand, it is not going. You don't know, it is actually going in. It is going in my mind, it is going into your mind. So don't worry about all these. Be very free. Just enjoy this process of getting into this highway. Don't say I am going at one step per hour, somebody is going 100 miles per hour. Don't worry about all that. Because they are real stunters of spiritual progress. In spiritual progress, all these thoughts must go. You should just revel in the idea. That's why Shraddha is what is allowing us to do that. That's what he says. Kinchi na kinchidapi chinte. So don't worry about other things. That's exactly what he is saying. Because this mind will again find a way to escape. You say, let anything come, Bhagavad Prasada. I mean, there is a Bhagavad Gita class, let me go over it. 30 years I have to go over it, let me go over it 30 years. Because these are all atindriya. You don't know what wonder is going behind all these. We don't have to know all that. Be in the satsanga. Be in the satsanga. Be on the right highway. Don't worry whether I am going fast. Don't be on the wrong highway. Don't turn on the wrong side. Once you can make sure of these two, don't worry about other things. Let things happen. So that is what it is. Sankalpa prabhavan kaman tyaktva. He said in the 2nd and 3rd shloka itself all these. He said, nahi sanyasta sankalpa yogi bhavati kaschana. If you can't do a sannyasa of your sankalpa, where will you become a yogi? That's why he says Sankalpa Prabhavan Kaman Tyaktva. You leave all that. Don't put targets. Don't say I should now know this next year. You say God has brought me here. It's one of the nice things that has happened to me. God has brought me to the Satsanga. It is Bhagavad Kripa, Guru Kripa and Bhagavad Kripa. We are in a Satsanga. Leave it. Put a full stop, not a comma. You will actually progress. You will not know it. You don't have to know it. It is Atindriya. Why do you want to know it? Don't worry about all that. These are all the real distractions in our own personal life. Don't bring all that into spiritual life also. That's why he said, Sarva Sankalpa Sannyasi Yoga Rudaha Tada Uchyate. Sankalpa must, sannyasa of Sankalpa must happen. That is why he said, Sankalpa Prabhavan Kaman Tyaktva Sarvan Aseshataha. Spotless, remove everything, don't leave a trace. This is only in a second shloka, and fourth shloka is coming back again. He is only, reinforcing these ideas. That's what he says. Na kanchit chintayet. How do you be na kanchit chintayet? Bhajagovindam. Sasangatve nissangatvam. Nissangatve nirmohatvam. Nirmohatve nischalatatvam. Nischalatatve jivan muktihi. Just go to Sasanga. The remaining three parts, Adi Shankara will take care. Great gurus will take care. That's why Satsanga is all that we need. Don't say, I am not able to understand, things are very difficult, nothing goes into your brain. It doesn't have to go into the brain, don't worry. Because they are Atindriyam. Buddhigrahyam Atindriyam. That's why Satsangate Nissangatvam. If that happens, the others will follow suit. Satsanga is the highway. That's the right road to the future. Now what happens in Satsanga, don't worry. Just be part of Satsanga. That's what Adi Shankara is also saying, Bhajagovindam, Satsangatve Nissangatvam. That Nissangatva will slowly bring you Nirmohatva, and that Nirmohatva will get you that Nischala Tattva which you done. So that's all we must worry about. Yato nischarati manaschancchalam astiram tatasto niyam yaitat Atmanyeva vasham nayet prashanta manasam hyenam yoginam sukhamuttamam upaiti shantarajasam brahmabhutam akalmasham. So, slowly you get into it, he says, yataha nischarati manaschancchalam astitam. Basically, all these are methods. Slowly, this wandering of the mind has to be brought down. What is the idea in Dhyana Yoga? You have to reduce this frequency. And completely let out mind will vibrate at a very high frequency. And you can see it in some people in certain times. The eyeball movement will be very fast. The mind is working very fast. These gadget, these outside dials will show what's happening inside. So, your eye, your forehead, everything will tell what is happening. So, what he is saying is, that is what he says. Slowly you bring the niyamya. Slowly you bring it, right? Atmanyeva vashamne. Bring it back. It is going out. Slowly bring it back. It's a slow process, don't worry. And what is the process? Satsanga. That will give us an opportunity to more and more think about it, and slowly we will be on the way. Let it take any number. In fact, in the future slokas, Arjuna is going to ask, and he is going to give some answers for that also. It can run into several janmas, but he gives us a guarantee of something. Most important sloka in this chapter is coming. So all that he is saying, prashanta manasam hyenam. So all these tranquil mind, shanta rajasam. So all he is saying that get in, slowly do it, get into focus. It will slowly quiet the mind and bring you into what you are. So don't worry too much about when will it happen. Should I try 8 hours a day? Don't waste time in all this. Get into this broad highway. The Bhagavad Kripa will take you. If it has to go 10 miles per hour from tomorrow, Bhagavad Kripa will do. Nobody on earth can stop it. So you leave Saranagati. Leave it to the God. Get onto the highway and say, you take it. And God will express Daivam Manishya Rupena. Don't think God is going to open these tiles and going to come in here with that they show in the movies, smoky white, and some gets a little bit more and more clearer, and some fancy figure comes. You're all okay. God is here everywhere. God expresses through many ways. Every day in life happens. If you are not able to see it, you have missed. The day you know that people around you are all messengers of God, your perspective of the world and perspective of yourself will change. That's very, very important in life. So let us not worry about all that. So far what he is saying is we have to revel in oneness. So it's a balancing act between the world of dualities or pluralities that we see outside and that oneness within. How do you create that bridge? It's a very difficult step. Mind will play its own villain in a role, big way. So slowly you do it. And that is what he concludes some of these ideas with a couple of shlokas. Look at this. He says, Sarva bhutastamatmanam sarva bhutani chatmani ikshate yoga yuktatma sarvatra samadarshanaha yomam pashyati sarvatra sarvancha mayi pashyati tasyaham na pranashyami sachame na pranashyati. Just now I said we should learn to see that the world around us are nothing but elements of God and nothing but God. Daivam Manushya Rupena is again a very narrow definition. The whole forces are all forces which are all working with us and signaling many things to us in the name of God. It's what he says. Yomam pashyati sarvatra. He never said sarva jananam. Sarva janeshu. He never said sarva janeshu. He never singled out only human beings. He said sarvatra. Everywhere you should be able to see me. And that's what is sarvamcha mayi pashyati. Not only that, you see everything in me. Mayi is in me. It's a seventh case. In me. So everywhere you see me, see everything in me. He dedicated 2 chapters for it. The first chapter for Yomam pashyati sarvatra, Mam pashyati sarvatra is done in a chapter called Vibhuti Yoga. 10th chapter. What is the message there? That is the message. Mam pashyati sarvatra. He takes 67 items and he actually shows, see me here, see me here. It's a small, he even says, I will give you a small example. In that chapter, 22nd shloka, he says, it's a very long list. I will take udaharana. That is the first part. Mayi cha sarvam cha mayi pashyati is the next chapter called Vishwarupa Darshan. Virat Rupa. In Virat Rupa, he showed everything in him. So these 2 lines are 2 separate chapters. Yomaham pashyati sarvatra is Vibhuti Yoga, chapter 10. Sarvam cha mayi pashyati is Vishwarupa Darshana, chapter 11. Yes. So let's see it in that much detail, but the point is making, that's the ultimate perspective you should get. He uses the word ikshate. Look at the previous. So he says, tasyaham na pranashyami. Such people who has developed that perspective of life will never get destroyed. Tasya aham na pranashyami. And he cannot also destroy me. That means, I am taking him already into the path of immortality. That's what he is saying. I am already taking him into this path of amritatva. Amritatvamanashuhu is what we say, no? He says, I will take you to that path. That's what he says in the 30th shloka. But in the 29th shloka, he uses the word sarva bhutastam atmanam sarva bhut. Same idea in a different way. Sarva bhutastam atmanam sarva bhutani cha atmani. In all bhutas, you see yourself, and in every one of them you see yourself, and in you see every one of the bhutas. That's what he is saying here. Ikshate. Ikshate, he never used the word pashyate. Ikshate is not simple seeing. See, in Sanskrit there are so many words, so many verbs, dhatus, right? Gatyarte, moving. There are about, yesterday we were just looking at in my Vyakarana class, we were looking at, I am attending a class. We were looking at some 40 Gatyartha pada, dhatuhu. Moving. Satatya gamane, ati, there is one at dhatu. Gam gach, gamblr, there is one, there is a gachati. Like that, in seeing there are several. So this he is saying ikshate. So ikshate is not simple seeing. Ikshate is see through, which means seeing out of experience. It's a very deep, it is a telescopic seeing, it is X-ray seeing, if I have to use the word, which means it's a deep understanding of what? Sarvatra Samadarshanaha. This oneness must be deeply realized, oneness must be deeply experienced and seen that way. Seeing is through experience. That is why he uses the word ikshate here. Ikshate yoga yuktatma sarvatra. A yoga yuktatma, a person who is well established in this yoga that we have talked about, sarvatra samadarshanaha ikshate. He is able to see everything, same. Now this everything same is a very tricky argument. We have to be very, very careful about this. Sarvatra samadharshana, because some people misunderstand this. First of all, sarvatra samadarshana does not mean rice and stone are the same. Don't cook. You say now sarvatra samadarshana, I'll take 1 kg of stone and cook and have my food. It will never happen. It doesn't mean that. Sarvatra samadarshana means that differences that exist only in the outside world. It does not map into my mind. So for Vyavahara you need differences. For Vyavahara you need differences. If you have to do Vyavahara, differences are very important. That's why I am a great believer in Varnashrama Dharma. See, if you are in an office, don't make all the 300 employees CEO, you will be in trouble. You need class 4 employees. Don't look down upon them. That's the question. See, now what they are doing is they are throwing the baby and the towel, everything into the hot water. If you are not able to develop Samadarshana Bhava and you are missing one with the other, they are saying we'll bundle everything and throw out. Without Varna Dharma, you cannot run society. Please understand. Varna Dharma, without Varna Dharma, how can you run it? Society is nothing but an organization. Please tell me which organization can run only with executive directors, 5,000 of them? Not possible. Please understand, you need janitorial workers, you need desk clerks, you need office boys, you need middle level managers, you need general manager, you need executive director, you need board of directors also. Huh?
Like 4 legs for table.
It's like 4 legs for table. Kandita. Definitely. So Samadarshana means, not that there are differences. Differences are required in a world of Vyavahara. In a world of spirituality, you will be very poor if you have differences. The world within cannot live with it. We have so much of Bheda Bhava. Moment we see, this is our normal nature. Moment we see this man is better, we know which side of the bread is butter. There is one English sentence, idiom, like that. I know which side of the bread is butter. That is Bheda Bhava. That is okay for Vyavahara, but don't carry it into your, don't map it into your manas too much. For Vyavahara, something at that level you keep it. But you should be able to see oneness. There's a charm of seeing oneness that gives a different perspective to my life. That is the meaning of that. So doesn't mean, this is a very nice story, which is again in a very jovial sense. It is a guru and a Sishya. The guru taught the Sishya great deal of Advaita Vedanta. Great guru and a great Sishya. So this has been going on for years. One day when they were in the forest, there was one elephant with Mada. He saw an inebriated state, came running. So the Mahout was shouting, run away, this is an elephant which is in an inebriated state. The Guru jumped and then went to the top of a tree. This Sishya said, my Guru has taught me Advaita Samadarshana, Advaita Vedanta. So he said, everything is same in the world. This elephant took this fellow and just threw him in one corner. Fortunately, he survived. After 2 months, he came back to his senses. First thing he asked the Guru, what is all the Guru you are? You taught me so much of Advaita Vedanta. Moment all this happened, what happened to your Advaita Vedanta? The Guru smiled at him. He said, of course I taught Advaita Vedanta. You saw God only in elephant. You did not see the God in the Mahout. Mahout was also God. I saw God in Mahout. When Mahout said that things are not good, I climbed the tree. So this is what happens when you have half-baked understanding of deep concepts. So Samadarshana, don't think everything is equal. In Vyavahara, don't make everything equal. If you are a boss, you have to get job done. For which you have to do. But moment you are out of that role, you can have Samadarshana. You can have a lot of empathy. You can have a lot of genuineness. All that is possible. Yes, sir.
Yesterday, she asked her, you told everything is Maya, and you jumped off. That also Maya.
Yes.
Jumped also Maya.
Yes.
But I jumped also Maya. You can read the reference.
So basically the idea is, can we train the mind to look at the container or the content? We are so much bothered about the container, not the content. It's very important to focus on the content. It's a very jovial story. I heard this from somebody in one of the pravachana, that Chinmayananda in Bombay, this was 30 years back. Moment content container, I remembered this story. I heard it in a pravachana. So Chinmayananda was like Gita Yajna in Bombay. So he called one young boy, young in the sense 25 year or something. He said, can you go to a lady who is in Goregaon or somewhere, can you collect something? So this person said, all right. So he went and then he collected a nice perfume kind of a bottle. So this young man was he said, why this Swamiji, Chinmaya Swamiji wants all this? So he was very, very perturbed by that. Or he passed on, I think, he passed on. I don't remember exactly. So he was very perturbed. Why is this Swamiji passing on this scent bottle to this lady? That lady happens to be a doctor, this happens to be a urine sample. So it's a question of container and content. He made a lot of assumption thinking, looking at the container. What I'm saying, this mind is capable of all this. You let the mind to focus only on the container, it will go, it will create so much havoc. It will create so much havoc that life can become very meaningless. So the whole idea of yoga is to focus on the content and not worry too much about the container. That is the idea. Then actually a couple of shlokas I have skipped because along the same line of thought. The chapter ends with two very important questions which Arjuna asked. Very important questions. We look at those two questions. Arjuna uvacha chanchalam himana Krishna pramati balavadhridam tasyaham nigraham manye vayoriva sudushkaram. Shri Bhagavan uvacha asamshayam mahabaho manodurnigraham chalam abhyasena tu kaunteya vairagyena cha grihyate. Arjuna asked the question on behalf of all of us. That is the greatness of Bhagavad Gita. The questions are the questions that you and I will ask. There are several questions he has asked in Bhagavad Gita, and the questions are not for the sake of questioning. They are, if you really start thinking deeply about the idea, this idea will come. Such a thought will come. I mean, it is a question from a genuine sadhaka. These questions will come only from a genuine sadhaka. You said all these, Krishna, I really tried for the last year or so. This is where I am now. If we try, we would have asked the same question. If you are a genuine sadhaka, we would ask the same question. What did he ask? Chanchalam himana Krishna. This mind is chanchala. The mind is not staying. You very nicely said, Manaha ekagraha karaniyam. Very nicely you said, oh no, the shloka went away. That is the central issue. Chanchalam himana Krishna, pramati. Use three words. Pramati, balavad and dridam. It's very turbulent, right? And it is very strong. Mind has destroyed people. Mind has destroyed civilizations. Read history from this angle, you will see. Just because somebody said something, look at the whole Mahabharata. In Indraprastha, they made that nice looking this thing, palace, and Draupadi laughed at Duryodhana. We thought there is a sheet of water. That one thing can spark a whole train of events which can lead to the whole of Mahabharata. I mean, that's one angle to it. Point is, it is very balavat, very strong. It is dridam, it is unyielding. It will not yield that easily. Mind is very strong, mind is unyielding. That's why if you say don't do this, you can do this but don't think about it, that's the end of the story. So until you die, you will only think about it. That is the job of the mind. Because this is story, one fellow went to a sannyasi, I have a bald head, you have a solution? Yes, of course. 1 week, everything will become over. How, sir? Very simple, I will give you oil. But you have to do one thing. Every day when you apply oil, don't think of monkey. Then mind knows what to do now. Every day take a drop of oil and say, what should I not do? I should not think of monkey. I should not think of monkey is actually thinking of monkey. That is what a mind can do. Mind is very, very powerful. I mean, it is out of Vatsalya this question is coming. You and I try dhyana, we will be stuck with this question. He says, Tasya nigraham aham manye vayuho iva sudushkaram. It is like catching air. How can you catch air in an open place? In a balloon you can catch air. How can you catch air in an open space? So he gives a very nice example. You are talking of something impossible. That's what he is saying. You are talking of something which is impossible to do. Right? Tasyaham manye nigraham sudushkaram. How? Vayuhu iva. Just like catching air in an open space. It's not going to happen. And look at the beauty of the reply. The beauty of the reply is, Krishna agreed with you. He never disagreed with you. That's why he is Yogeshwara Krishna. Asamshayam, no doubt. He says, Asamshayam Mahabaho, Manaha Durnigraham Chalam. All that you said is, it looks like then that is the end of the story now. So he says, I agree with you. I cannot agree with you anymore. That's what he is saying. Asamshayam Mahabaho Mano Durnigraham Chalam. Then he says two things. You need Abhyasa and Vairagya. These are the two important things in life. One is Abhyasa, which means you have to relentlessly practice. You have to relentlessly do it. So it does not fit into our modern methods of I put so much effort for so many days. So have I reached twice my... Don't do all that. They are all very futile. Your mind will actually tell you these are all futile, run away, don't do it. It will only take you out because it is Pramadi Balavadridam. So Abhyasa is very, very important. Vairagya is very important. Vairagya comes out of Shraddha. Vairagya will come only out of Shraddha. Because that Shraddha will only give you that steadfastness and that renunciation frame of mind. You have to give up you should be ready to give up some of the worldly things. That is called Vairagya. If you are not giving up the worldly things, this is a futile exercise. All that we talked about a little early in a few shlokas before. Sankalpa Prabhavan Kaman Tyaktva. Why did he say that? So that Vairagya will come out of Shraddha and out of Bhagavad Bhakti. Bhakti and Shraddha only can give Vairagya. Nothing else will give us Vairagya. We should have Bhakti, which means I live because it is all Nimitta Matram Bhavasavya Sachin. I am an instrument in this beautiful world. I am a very small, insignificant instrument in this world. It's such a beautiful world with 6 billion creatures, such a wonderful color of creatures in terms of plants and animals and insects and also human beings, also Indians, also people in Bangalore, also people on Bannerghatta Road, of whom I am one. It's very, very important. Bhakti and Shraddha will be the raw material for Vairagya, and Abhyasa will come, even that Vairagya will push us towards Abhyasa. So I think the starting point is Vairagya, and that will come out of Bhakti and Shraddha. So that's the reply he gives. Then he asks another question. Okay, that's all right. Now let me put it in a slightly different way is what he is asking. He is saying, Arjuna uvacha ayati shraddhayopetaha yoga chalita manasaha aprapya yoga samsiddhim kam gatim Krishna gacchati Shri Bhagavan uvacha partha naiveha namutra vinashastasya vidyate nahi kalyana krit kaschit durgatim tata gacchati. Now Arjuna is very intelligent. He says, okay, I started with Vairagya. I agree with you. I did Abhyasa. He says, one day I am dying, maybe 100 years, 110 years, if you are so lucky, some 105 years or something. 100 years is too lucky. 80, 85 is all that we can. He's saying, what will happen? I did all that, one day I died. There is no credit. I have not been given any credit. This is a feeling. We all have that feeling. We think everything must happen now. So he says, Ayati Shraddhayopetaha, I brought Shraddha, as you said. I put all my effort. But what happened? Yoga Chalita Manasaha. Still, I tried yoga, genuinely tried, but I didn't reach that spot you said. Which means I have never reached the finish point now. Before that I died. Over. This Janma is over. Can happen. So aprapya, that aprapya indicates to that. Aprapya means my turn is over now. My turn is over, so what will happen? He says, Kagatim Krishna Gacchati, where will he go? He put so much effort, I could at least enjoy life. Instead of doing it, Yavad Jivet Sukham Jivet, Rinam Kritva Gritam Pibet. That is the modern paradigm lies there. Yavad Jivet Sukham Jivet. Enjoy life. How? Rinam Kritva Gritam Pibet. On credit, drink ghee. Drink ghee means enjoy all luxuries of life on credit. Credit card. Credit card culture. So that's what he says. Kagatim Krishna Gacchati. I will all my effort is gone. I am dead. I spent 30 years, 40 years, everything is waste. For which Krishna gave an important axiom in life. If you have Shraddha, you can understand this sloka. What he says? He says, Nahi kalyana krit kaschit durgatim tata gacchati. You can live only on this sloka. Otherwise you cannot live, I am telling you. Modi or no Modi, you cannot live. Krishna says, anything good effort that you put in life will never go waste. In fact, without that belief, nobody puts efforts. Please understand that. That is true of this way, the spiritual thinking also. He says, Nahi kalyana krit kaschit durgatim tata gacchati. He uses the word tata. Tata is a very emotional usage. See, if you want to you get very emotional, use the word son, my dear brother. In Bhajagovinda, he uses the word brata. Muda. Muda jahihi, he said. The two places he uses muda. He says brata also in Bhajagovindam. See, when you get very emotional, you feel for people, these words are used. My dear brother, why are you worried? My dear son, don't worry. That's what he's saying. Durgatim tata na gacchati. The na comes his. Kalyana, kaschit kalyana krita durgatim nahi gacchati tata. Never. Your good efforts will never go waste. I will tell you, this is the only reason why we should go on the path of spirituality. You cannot go on any other basis. Because if you spend for a day, at the end of the day, nobody is going to give you a coupon to redeem tomorrow. It doesn't belong to that category. It's Shraddha and Bhakti, Vairagya, Abhyasa. It will happen. You have to have. This is another part of Shraddha. It's a belief. If you can't believe it, it is not going to work. There's no way to discuss this shloka. You either believe it or don't believe it. If you don't believe it, go away. Believe it, come. And none other than Krishna is saying this. So you have to first believe in that Krishna said. And Krishna said this. Partha na eva iha. Not here. Na amutra. Not elsewhere. I don't know where you are going. It doesn't matter. Na iha, na amutra. Vinashaha tasya vidyate. He will never perish. He or she will never perish. He or she brought the best efforts that will remain in the credit. Don't worry. There is a Chitragupta who is maintaining the credit. Don't worry. It's a very robust accounting system. It will work. Don't worry. It will happen. In fact, there are lots of things you can explain only with that. Ramana Maharishi did not read anything in this Janma. He read nothing. He was a school boy. He was studying English. One day he ran away from Madurai. He came to Ramana Ashrama. What profound thoughts. Where did it all come from? Your science will never work. So you take his chromosome and test, you'll actually end with nothing. Science cannot explain any of this. In 1964, in the city of Bangalore, 66, in the city of Bangalore, a 2-year-old boy will be taken to a concert, his grandfather's concert, called Gotu Adyam Narayana Iyengar. This grandson of Gotu Adyam Narayana Iyengar, who is 2-year-old, he will be put on the stage, and this Gotu Adyam Narayana Iyengar will do like this. This boy will find 500 ragas. What is this child prodigy? Your science, your chromosomes, your all that, biochemistry, nothing it will explain. Where did it all come from? It comes from this shloka. There is a continuity to our life. First believe in it. There is a continuity to our life. The moment we believe in it, because there are people, lots of people ask this, at a very old age, if we start spirituality, what will happen? Nothing will happen. Very old age is a very relative term. 1,000 janmas, these 70 years is what? It is the 7th or 8th insignificant digit in which you have to put 1 or 2. If you lived 70 years, in the 15th insignificant digit you will have to put a 7. If you lived 80 years, in the 15th insignificant digit you have to put 8. How important is the 70 and 80? Not at all important. That is what it is. 2 more slokas I'll quickly see, and 6-5. Is that okay? Another 5-10 minutes? Because we'll finish the chapter. Then he also explains how they will come back. What is this re-entry strategy? Little bit he explains. Prapya punyakritam lokam ushitva sashvati samaha shuchinam shrimatam gehe yoga brashto bhijayate. That is option 1. There is an option 2 which he talks about. Athava yoginam eva phale bhavati kule bhavati dhimatam etaddi durlabhataram loke janma yadi drisham. So what he says, he gives 2 options. He says, what will happen? 2 things can happen. One is prapya punya kritam, you did a lot of good things. See, punya is different from punya papa, does not belong to the domain of spirituality at all. Punya papa is a separate account. That is a debit credit account. That has to be very strictly maintained. So debit has to be debited, credit has to be given. So where do you give the credit? That credit is, let's say there are 7 lokas actually. Bhuloka, Bovarloka, Suvarloka, Maharloka, Janaloka, Tapaloka and Satyaloka. There are 7. There is a very elaborate credit, and depending upon, you redeem points. Payback, if you have so many points, you can get if you have 2,000 points, you get a small hand torch. If you redeem 20,000 points, you get a mobile phone or something. If you can redeem 2 lakh points, 200,000 points, maybe you can get a car or something. I only wonder, if you redeem 2 billion or 2 trillion points, you get 1 more life. That they can't give. They can give all other kind of worldly things they can give anyway. So this Punya Papa is actually a payback mechanism. Where you use a credit card, every month you get a payback point and redeem it. So, prapya punya kritam, some good acts you did. You help some people. You have been very kind. You help somebody for a, food or education or medical help. Something you did. All those are separate credit debit balance. And there is a holiday timeshare which you can go. That is called Swarga. There are different, depending upon, that's what I say. Depending upon how much credit you have, you know where to go. Having done all that, so they are all very temporary. In chapter 8 we will see. There is a very nice shloka in chapter 8 which says, Abrahma Bhonan Lokan Punaravartinorjana. From Brahma onwards they will have to come back. Only thing is that holiday timeshare is a little longer. That's all. So, Ushitva Shashwati Samaha, it looks as though it is permanent. But it is not permanent. Shashwati Samaha, so much of good act you had, redeem all the points. Moment the balance becomes 0, they will say goodbye. Go. And then where will you come? If you did spiritual journey you did, he says Shuchinam Shrimatam Gehe Yoga Brashto Vijayate. You will continue this journey without loss of continuity. You will come to some. So, birth and death is not a matter of 2 opposite sex getting together. They are all signs. There is how the soul selects the parents. How many times it goes out of a non-matching parent, through stools it goes and comes through the food again. It's very elaborately discussed. You don't become a son or a father just by accident. It actually selects. So that it can further. It selects a particular place where it can only go become better. These are all divine acts, very complicated acts which are organized divine acts. So Suchinam Shrimatam Gehe Yoga Brashto Vijayate. That's one option. Second option, Atava, otherwise, Yoginam Eva Kule Bhavati Dhimatam. That's how Buddha came. Look at, see, this is the point you have to understand. Your biochemistry, your genetic and will never tell that Buddha's father will be a Buddha and Buddha's son will be a Buddha. Impossible. It is not DNA matter. It is Vasana matter. It is all beyond all these science. That's why Buddha's father was not a Buddha. Buddha's son was not a Buddha. Raghavendra's father was not Raghavendra. Raghavendra's son was not Raghavendra. It doesn't happen by accident. There are all, ways by which it found, Gautama Buddha found, this is the place where I will flower. The meaning of that is different. It is conducive for the soul to continue its journey. Soul always makes this journey. That's what he is saying. Or, Yoginam eva kule bhavati dhimatam, you will get into really place which is ultimate place for liberation. You will be part of that company. I mean, your credit in this spiritual is also so high that you will come here. There is something called Krama Mukti and all that. I am not getting into it. There is something called, Videha Mukti and Krama Mukti. These are all actually talking some of those ideas. So he says, Atava, Yoginam eva kule bhavati dhimatam. But he says this is very rare. Yetat hi durlabhataram loke idrisham janmam. This kind of birth is once in a, see, only one person can become a prime minister. To become an Indra, the kind of things that you need. See, this Indra, Varuna, these are all positions, not people. These are all positions. Now, who occupies the position? What is your credential? Show me your credentials. That's what it is. So, Krama Mukti is very difficult. That's the second thing he's talking about. But anyway, let us not worry about these details. The message is very clear. The message is, good efforts, na kaschit kalyana krit durgatim tata gachati. Remember this all the time in life. That will only propel us to do good things. That will only propel us in the path of spirituality. Nothing to do with age, nothing to do with how much I know, how much I have yet to know. Worry about all that. Krishna says, Shushinam Srimatam Gehe. That is very applicable to us. We will find a birth in a place which is more conducive for the soul to flower. These are all matter of faith, and science can nowhere come near any of these. It's impossible to even tread on this. Because there are 1 million things which science cannot explain. There are 1 million good things science has done. Don't think I am talking down on science. Science is very useful for Vyavahara. Science is not useful for spirituality. I am talking about spirituality. Science is no good for spirituality. Don't waste. Science is good for Vyavahara. You can get an iPhone 5B, 5C, 5D, 5Z, all that you can do. You can touch, you can tell you can ask you to take a right turn, all that you can do. They are all for Vyavahara. Keep it where it belongs. Don't overdo it. Keep it where it belongs. Then you have a hope of going on this highway. If you overdo it, we'll see all that in future chapters. All these are well explained actually. Okay, I think, so there are a few more shlokas, but they are all telling very important things. And what does it say? Spiritual progress is a structured and a sustained process. Don't worry. It's very structured. It's very sustained also. So don't say how much I have gathered, is time running out? Nothing is running out. Don't at all worry. It is very structured and sustained. Right? Birth and death are mere milestones. They are just commas, not a full stop. It is just a comma. Don't worry. So don't think that this is the only birth. That's why our worry is it is a full stop. That's why we want to grab and enjoy everything and go. It's actually a comma. Please understand this idea. It's never a full stop. It's just a comma. Moment you understand this comma and versus full stop philosophy, it's a deep philosophy. Death is actually a comma, not a full stop. We have to contemplate on this area for a few years to really know what we are actually talking about. Then there is a careful selection. I didn't get into those shloka. It's all there. Tatratam buddhi sanyogam labate purvadaihikam. He says, based on where you are, the soul will now go to the next. That's what it says. Purva abhyasena tena eva hriyate hi avashopi saha. It is not in your control. Your path, where you have gone, will lead you to the next. So it's a journey, don't worry. It's a continuous process. This sloka I didn't quote, but it is in that same thing. And next sloka is also there. Aneka janma samsiddha tato yati. So this is a long journey. One day you'll just call it off. So don't worry about that finish point. Worry about the pathway. Worry about satsanga. Get into dhyana. Cool. That's what I always say. Don't worry about how will I reach Mount Everest. That's a foolish thought. You ask from here, should I go this way or this way? That's the best thing to do. From the base camp, don't imagine about Mount Everest. You will never reach Mount Everest. From the base camp, you ask, should I go right or left? Somebody said go left, go a little bit 100 meters up, 1000 meters up, put the next base camp, and now you start, do I go right or left? That is more practical. Don't worry about Mount Everest. I mean, it is donkey years before you reach Mount Everest. You can reach, but don't think about all that. Ask, what should I do so that one day I will reach? That's what mountaineers will do. They will ask, what do I do so that one day I reach? That's the most important question that we need to really ask. That's why he says, Aneka janma samsiddha tato yati param gatim. Chapter ends with 2 slokas. Tapasvibhyo diko yogi jnanibhyo pi matodikaha karmibhyascha diko yogi tasmad yogi bhavarjuna. He puts this yogi at a highest pedestal, much more than those who are tapasvin, those who are jnanis. Why? Because that is the most practical advice. Don't say, I like people who don't tell a person who doesn't know how to even do mountain climbing that, you want to go to Mount Everest. I like him. I say, no, I like you because you really want to go to Mount Everest. This is the way go. I like you the most. That's the only way I can get him to Mount Everest finally. Otherwise, it never happen. Otherwise, if I am a novice, I have a genuine interest. The prerequisite is I have genuine interest. If I have genuine interest, and then you come and say, what are you here? I know so many people who are on the Mount Everest, I will run away. Because it is very disappointing for me. It is not at all motivating for me. It is demotivating for me. Krishna is motivating by saying this. That doesn't mean jnanis are useless or he is motivating. He is giving us a very childlike patting. Because we are very childish in spirituality. We need that childlike patting. That's what he is doing here. He says, tapasvibhyo adhikaha yogihi jnanibhyo. You are superior to tapasvins. You are superior to yogis. You are superior to... Yogi is superior to all the jnani and then tapasvin is what he says. And all those who performs action, compared to all these, that is what I should say. If you are so burning desire to go to Mount Everest, I mean, you are the best person in life here. What is cricket? What is all that? This is the ultimate in life. I like you. I like people like you. You are the one. Then I will start. So it is a very assuring, very motivating way of telling. So don't think others are less important. It is a psychology. I have to be patted. I have to be patted, gently patted, given that push. All that is happening. Yoginam api sarvesham madgatena antaratmana shraddhavan bhajate yomam same yuktatamo mataha. Of all the yogis, even amongst, first he said, I like yogis. Then he says, even among all those yogis, those who have penetrated into me, madgatena antaratmana, your inside is full of me. You are nothing but thinking about the God all the time. You are very God conscious. You are reveling in God. Madgatena antaratmana shraddha. With shraddha you on bhajate. With shraddha you worship me, right? Same yuktatamo mana. You know why he said this shloka is actually the starter for the next 6 triplets, where he says bhakti is very important. Next 6 triplets is bhakti yoga. If you have to do bhakti, you should know what is God. You should know this concept of God particle. They are all described in the next 6. So this 47th shloka in chapter 6 is a pointer to Bhakti Yoga, which is the second triplet. With this ends the first triplet of Bhagavad Gita, which is Tat Padartha, Tvam Padartha. You. First 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita is Tvam Padartha. It positions you in the world. You in the context of outside world. you in the context of others, you in the context of yourself. All those are discussed. Karma yoga, jnana yoga, karma sannyasa yoga, dhyana yoga, all of them. Now if you have gathered yourself and know who you are, then this Mahavakya Tattvamasi, the Tvam is over. Now I have to know what is Tat. What is that? Which I have to become. Asi is to become. So what is that? Tat. The Tat Padartha is the subject matter for the next 6 chapters. And this is the entry into the 6th chapter. It's all about bhakti. You should know the God. God is not a fancy idea. God must become a matter of anubhava. That is, the pinnacle of that is described in the next 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita. So with this, first 6 triplets of Bhagavad Gita gets over. Om Tat Saditi Srimad Bhagavad Gita Su Upanishatsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Shri Krishna Arjuna Sambade Atma Samyama Yogo Nama Shashtodhyayah. Some people say Dhyana Yoga, some people say Atma Samyama Yoga. Both are same. Okay. Om Shri Krishna Arpanamastu Shri Guru Charanaravindar-panamastu. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Thank you.